house. Keep going. So that means they went home, right?
That's right.
They went home. Go ahead.
They saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts.
Oh, so the shepherds didn't provide gifts. The wise men provided the gifts.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Gold and frankincense and myrrh.
But this is after. So that nativity scene of having them 3 wise men providing gifts, that's not biblical, is it?
No, sir.
That's not at all. We don't even find the same baby being a young child because now they're in the house. In other words, this is in the days of Herod the king. While he was still king, that's why he turned around and said, you know what, since the wise men are playing games with me, kill all children 2 years old and under, because at least 2 years have passed since they came and inquired of who's that's born king of the Jews.
That's right.
So because y'all won't tell me, I'll get all of them since that time period. That's the end of 11?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Now let's go to Micah chapter 5, verse 2. Let's read the prophecy with the same wisdom that the wise men had. Because I'm showing you that even when they make those scenes, those are false. But we're going to go into more understanding with that. Micah 5, verse 2. When you get there, go ahead and read.
But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting.
From old, from everlasting. In other words, this individual has to come out of Bethlehem, the city of David, whose goings forth, when you read this, read with some understanding, has been from old, from everlasting. So a mortal, which is us, we all have days that we're born, we all have days that we die. We have a start date, we have an end date. But if he goes from forth of old, of everlasting, he has no start date.
Amen.
He showed up through Mary, and when they tried to kill him, he turned around and got up out the grave. He has no end date.
That's right.
He's an immortal. How are we as mortals able to place a start date on an immortal spiritual being?
Amen, brother.
You can't do it. You are out of your lane. You are out of bounds, as they say.
That's it.
What in sports really throw the flag up?
That's right. Personal foul.
Personal foul, right. That's right. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to Revelation chapter 1. We are out of our lane telling our Creator, this is when you started, because I said so. And I'm going to use your creation and bring it in the house and decorate that and bow down to that. Out of our lane. Revelation chapter 1, pick it up at verse 15. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
I'm just showing the breakdown of this vision that John the Revelator is seeing. We're seeing feet like brass, as if they burn in a furnace, but keep going. That's what I'm not here for that. Keep going.
And he had in his right hand 7 stars.
He had in his right hand what?
7 stars.
7 stars. Go ahead.
And out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword.
Right.
And his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength.
Right. Keep going.
And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not. I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death.
Right. Jump down and hit verse 20.
The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in my right hand, and
the mystery of the what? 7
stars.
Go ahead.
And the 7 golden candlesticks.
Right.
The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches.
The 7 stars are 7 what?
Angels.
That's what this is. So the shepherds and the wise men have something in common. They encounter an holy angel of God.
That's right.
Every time you go and you see at the top of those trees that they were putting up last week, what do they put on top? They put a star. If they don't put a star, what else do they put on top of it? There you go. but they don't realize what they operating in. They don't understand this thing. But we pray that they gain some understanding by the grace of God. That's the end of verse 20.
And the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches.
Are the 7 churches. Perfect. Let's go to Revelation chapter 9 and pick it up at verse 1. Revelations 9 and verse 1. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And the 5th angel sounded,
right,
and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth.
A what fell from heaven?
A star.
Fell from heaven. Keep going.
And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit.
Oh, this star has a key.
Mm-hmm.
A key to the bottomless pit.
That's right.
But this one didn't just fall. This one was kicked out.
It was thrown.
Keep going.
And he opened the bottomless pit,
right,
and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace.
Right.
And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
Right. In other words, he's unleashing the European Union Army. But let's go ahead and go forward to Revelations 12 and verse 3. Because this one star that came down, it was kicked out a long time ago. But was he by himself? Let's find out. Revelations 12, verse 3, when you get there, go ahead and read.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven.
Another wonder. Keep going.
And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head.
Right, this is representing the Gentile dynasty. Keep going.
And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven.
His tail drew a 3rd part of the what?
Stars of heaven.
An innumerable amount of angels, a 3rd of them, he caused them to get caught up, to be cast down here too.
That's right.
Keep going.
And did cast them to the earth.
Right.
And yet the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered,
right,
for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
And how did he do that? He tried doing that through Herod by way of the Roman Empire. That's what that's saying. Now let's read a definition real quick. Can we read the definition of this one term? This one term called syncretism.
Yep. Syncretism.
Right.
The combination of different forms of belief or practice.
Right. So someone's trying to mix the two. See, that I'm bringing these present day terms to point back to the Garden of Eden, where you had the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It was being mixed, good and evil. Go ahead.
Religious syncretism.
Religious syncretism. Go ahead.
The fusion of diverse religious beliefs,
right,
and practices. Instances of religious syncretism.
Right.
As, for example, Gnosticism.
Right.
A religious dualistic system that incorporated elements from the Oriental mystery religions. Judaism, Christianity, and Greek religious philosophical concepts.
Right.
The Roman Empire tended to bring together a variety of religious and philosophical views.
Which empire?
The Roman Empire.
The Roman Empire brought together all these different religious beliefs. Keep going.
That resulted in a strong tendency toward religious syncretism.
Right. The Romans, that great and dreadful, terrible beast in Daniel chapter 7, brought about the religious syncretism. Even though there's bits of it going in other places, but it was the strongest at this time.
Yeah.
That's the end of that?
That's the end of that.
Perfect. Thank you. Now let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 5. 1 Samuel chapter 5. Like I said, when people say, well, I'm just going to continue doing it for now or for whatever reason, we're going to show that's very unbiblical. 1 Samuel chapter 5, and pick it up at verse 1. 1 Samuel, right after Ruth and right before the book of Kings. Chapter 5 and verse 1. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod.
Right.
When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon.
The house of who?
Dagon.
Right. This is a fish god.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord.
Right.
And they took Dagon and set him in his place again.
That's right, because you see the ark of the Lord was, number one, it was covered in gold, but what was on top? It was called the mercy seat.
That's right.
In other words, this is an actual seat where God sits on. And you're going to put him next to this false god.
That's right.
When you come back, close the door. When you come back, guess which one going to be falling? The false one. You don't mix them. Go ahead.
And when they are, this is 4. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him.
Right. He didn't even want you to think that this was an accident. They need to have some understanding. The hands is cut off and the head's cut off, and only the stump remains. Keep going.
Therefore neither the priest of Dagon nor any that come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them at Ashdod.
So not only is the hand of the Lord upon this false god, the hand of the Lord is going to be on who? These people.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And he destroyed them and smote them with emerods.
He smote them with what?
Emerods.
You know what we call that today? Hemorrhoids.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right. That sickness is not always because you didn't take some medication or because you didn't put a scarf on. Sometimes the Lord's executing on you because you are doing something that you should not be doing. You are out of bounds. And mixing the two is definitely out of bounds. So they got what? Hemorrhoids. Keep going.
Even Ashdod and the coast thereof.
Right. Keep going.
And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us.
They started to realize, yo, there's something more to this. We can't keep this ark. Keep going.
For his hand is sore upon us.
Because his hand is sore upon us. Go ahead.
And upon Dagon our God.
And upon Dagon our God. But you notice how within a short amount of time, they came to this understanding.
That's right.
My people do not understand. They ain't considering that maybe the hand of the Lord is upon them for how they worship him. Keep going.
They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them and said, what shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel?
Right.
And they answered, let the ark of the God of Israel be carried out into Gath. And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about thither.
Right.
And it was so that, after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction, and he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts.
And where?
In their secret parts.
In their privacy. Go ahead.
Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron. And it came to pass, as the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, they have brought all about the ark of the God of Israel to us to slay us and our people.
Oh, man, we're going to get hit with it too. Keep going.
So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, send away the ark of the God of Israel and let it go again to its own place, that it slay us not and our people, for there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there.
So apparently from this story, is Dagon a god? No. Knock one down. Let's keep it going. Let's go to Isaiah 37. They started realizing we can't do nothing about this, and neither can our God. Isaiah 37.
Had to send back a gift, though.
Right. Gave him something to
gold.
think about.
Sent back some gold.
Gonna give him some golden
that's
hemorrhoids.
Right. That's what they did. That's what they sent back.
That's the story. That's the story right there. Wow. Isaiah 37. And we're going to pick this up at verse 10. I'm just walking. I'm trying to make this real condensed. What's going on between Sennacherib and Hezekiah and the children of Israel. So I'm just going to point this out real quick. Isaiah 37, verse 10. When you get there, go ahead and read.
Thus shall ye speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah, saying, let not thy God, in whom thou trustest, deceive thee, saying, Jerusalem shall not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Behold, thou hast heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all the lands by destroying them utterly, and shalt thou be delivered?
In other words, he's saying, don't have faith in your own God, because look at these other guys that we took down with their nations. Go ahead.
Have the gods of the nations delivered them, which my fathers have destroyed?
So it wasn't just him. He said, which my fathers, so they have been winning for a long time, right? Which my fathers have destroyed. Go ahead.
As Gozan and Haran and Rezeph and the children of Eden, which were in Telasar.
Keep going.
Where is the king of Hamath and the king of Arphad and the king of the city of Sepharvaim Hena, and Ivah.
Right?
And,
Jump down to verse 33. So he's making a legit case. Where are all these other individuals at? However, he crossed the line. We're trying to mix their lack of help that are no gods with the real God who does what? Help. And is a rock and a refuge for his people and those who call on his name. Pick it up at verse 33.
Therefore thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria.
Right.
He shall not come into this city.
He's not going to come in the city.
Nor shall shoot an arrow there.
Nope.
Nor come before it with shields,
Right.
nor cast a bank against it.
Right.
By the way that he came, by the same shall he return,
Exactly.
and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord.
Right.
For I will defend this city to save it for mine own sake.
So I will fight this battle. I will defend this city for what?
Mine own sake.
There you go. Keep going.
And for my servant David's sake.
Uh-huh.
Then the angel of the Lord went forth and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000.
Uh-huh.
And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses.
They were all dead corpses. But let's see what Sennacherib turns around and does. Go ahead.
So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh.
Just like the Lord said he was going to do. He's going to go out the same way he came. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch his god, that Adramelech and Shrerazir, his sons, smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia, and Esarhaddon his son reigned in his stead.
So he turned around. Not only did his army fail and get killed 185,000 in one night by one angel, he turned around and he went home. After seeing all that, didn't give the God of Israel glory. He goes in the house of his God, Nisroch. And then guess what the Lord said? I'm going to have you killed by your own children.
That's right.
So is Nisroch God?
No.
No. Count them down. Count them down. Let's keep it going. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 5. Because when you walk down these stories, you end up running into someone who's not of the bloodline of Israel that says, hey, there's something going on here. I think I'm going to ride this way.
Amen.
I think I'm going to go with this team. You know what we call that now? We call that bandwagon fans. But there ain't no problem with that in the Bible.
Guilty.
Right. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's the whole point. Is to become bandwagon fans and jump on this bandwagon. You see that? Who's taking down Egypt? Hey, I think I'm going to roll with him.
That's right. That's right.
They try to say, yeah, I like LeBron and all that, you know. And then whatever team he goes to, but I'm a bandwagon fan. But it's more important to be a bandwagon fan for the Lord.
Amen.
Praise God. 2 Kings chapter 5. Pick it up at verse 1. When you get there, go ahead and read.
Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria.
Right.
He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper.
So he had a big position. He was a man of valor, but he was a leper. He was suffering from leprosy. Go ahead.
And the Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife.
So he's about to get some advice from who? From a little maid that's of the captives of Israel. In other words, an Israelite. She's a slave, and she's going to give some good heed. Go ahead.
And she said unto her mistress, would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy.
We still have a prophet that can help walk this thing down in Samaria. So she's letting, it says, his mistress know this information. Hit verse 4. And
one went in and told his Lord, saying, thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel.
Yep, so someone's passing the message. Verse 13. So apparently she's on her priestly duties as well, passing the information on, even though she's in what? Captivity. Keep going.
And his servants came near and spake unto him and said, my father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing.
Right. In fact, so what happened, he came and he listened. He came and he pretty much was getting advice as to what to do. Go dip in Jordan 7 times. And he didn't want to do that. Because Elisha wouldn't even come out the tent to go deal with this dude. He just said, just do this. And so he wanted to storm off mad. But someone's bringing some wise counsel. Look, if he asked you to do some big thing that was about a whole bunch of theatrics, you would have did it.
Right.
But keep going.
And his servant came near and spake unto him, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing,
right,
wouldest thou not have done it?
You would have did that. Go ahead.
How much rather then, when he saith to thee, Wash and be clean?
Just go get clean in the Jordan. Go ahead.
Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God.
You know what just happened? He humbled himself. Because he was a big man with a big position, but now when it comes to simple things, he could not do that until he humbled himself. Then he just did it. Go ahead.
And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child,
right,
and he was clean.
Right.
And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him, and he said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth.
Now I know mission was accomplished. Now I know that there is no God, go ahead,
in all the earth,
go ahead,
but in Israel.
But in Israel. The Lord has successfully been sanctified by someone's obedience and someone passing the message on where to go to and the prophet executing the right instruction. Mission accomplished. God is now sanctified. Go ahead.
Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant.
Actually, we aren't here for that, but jump down to verse 18. Because he wanted to give him something for it, but he wasn't worried about the money. But we aren't here for that. Hit verse 18. In
this thing the Lord pardon thy servant.
So, give me a little bit of space. I understand now. Hey, ain't no God. Look how my flesh is. It's back, right? Go ahead.
That when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there.
My master goes into the house of who?
Rimmon,
that's a false god. Go ahead.
To worship there, and he leaneth on my hand.
So apparently he was a little bit older. He has to lean on his hand. Go ahead.
And I bow myself in the house of Rimmon.
Right.
When I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon thy thy servant in this thing.
In other words, I have a certain job to do, but in the heart, which is most important, how you worship the Lord, in spirit and in truth, in heart, pureness of heart. This is how I'm focusing on the Lord God of Israel, not in this false god within this false temple, because I now have been converted. Amen. So is Rimmon a god?
No.
Rimmon is a false god also.
That's right.
Right. Oh, I know. That's why you're here on the Sabbath day, because the Lord is the Lord of the Sabbath, like you said in Mark chapter 2. I already know. Let's keep it going. Let's go to Daniel chapter 5.
To what? What was it?
Daniel chapter 5.
Daniel 5. Thank you.
Yep. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. See, I wanted you to get it walked down for someone that was someone other than the Israelite to profess and acknowledge whose God was really God. Paul had to go and, he pretty much surveyed, Mars Hill, like, hey, all this other stuff is a bunch of superstition. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to break down to you the unknown God. But even in the Old Testament, you had people acknowledge who was the real God and say, I'm wrong with him. But even I still have to kind of go through my, how can I say, my lifestyle. But I'm not doing this in service of the God of Israel. I just have a job. Mm-hmm. That's what that's saying. Mm-hmm. So he said, pardon me in one thing. And Elisha said, go in peace. Go ahead, Daniel chapter 5, pick it up at verse 1. Daniel 5 and verse 1, when you get there, go ahead and read.
Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords,
right,
and drank wine before the 1,000.
Right. So this is the last king of Babylon. When Nebuchadnezzar came in and took down Jerusalem, you still have that first kingdom, Babylon, ruling. Go ahead.
Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine,
right,
commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem,
right,
that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein.
So he said, look, we're just going to go get a taste of these things, but watch what else is going to happen or transpire, which is where he commits an offense. Keep going.
Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold.
They praised the gods of what?
Of gold.
So this is saying I'm praising the God of gold. This is saying I'm praising the God that's made of gold. Go ahead.
And of silver.
The God that's made of silver. Go ahead.
Of brass.
Of brass.
of iron, of wood,
and of wood,
and of stone.
and stone. So that's what they're doing. They're praising these guys that are made of these elements of the earth. Go ahead. With the vessels of the Lord. That's called what? A mixture, syncretism.
Right.
I'm going to use these for this. Go ahead.
In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace.
Right. This is where we get the saying, the writings on the wall. In other words, it's already finished for you. Go ahead.
And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, Whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom.
Right, but he even though he puts that incentive out there, they could not obtain that because they couldn't break down the understanding, because they were astrologers and soothsayers and magicians. In other words, they weren't prophets of God. But go ahead and jump down to verse 10.
Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lords, came into the banquet house, and the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed. There is a man in thy kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy gods.
In your kingdom, but he's a slave still. There's someone in your kingdom that can help you. Go ahead.
And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him.
Right. It tells you she doesn't understand the Lord God of Israel, but she's saying, hey, this individual has some spiritual understanding. Go ahead.
Whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father the king, I say thy father, made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts were found in this same Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, Belteshazzar, now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation.
And he's going to show you. In other words, call him, he's going to show you what it's really about. Jump to verse 23.
But hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven.
So I'm jumping right to when he's pronouncing judgment. Hey, you lifted yourself against the Lord of heaven. Go ahead. And
they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them, and thou hast...
Right, so it's not just the fact that you drank from them. Well, you stole them. I mean, you took them out. That was a spoil. But you took them while you were also doing this. Hit that other part.
And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified.
You have not glorified this individual. That's the way you ran afoul. Keep going.
Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Meaning, tekel, upharsin. This is in the interpretation of the thing. Many. God hath numbered, meaning.
We aren't going to hit that, but in other words, his kingdom was finished, and he was slaved that night and turned around, and the Medes took over. But let's go ahead and jump to 1 Kings chapter 11. I also want to show you the judgment that was pronounced on him for where he ran afoul. He was using the vessels of God while dealing with paganism. That's where he ran afoul. And that's where the writing on the wall came in. 1 Kings chapter 11. Y'all enjoying this so far?
Amen.
Praise God. 1 Kings chapter 11, and pick it up at verse 28. 1 Kings 11, chapter 28. So they were dealing with many false gods. And when you get there, go ahead and read.
And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him, and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, Take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee.
So this is what caused Israel to split from being a unified monarchy, 12 tribes. This is what caused it to split. Keep going.
But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel.
Right. Keep going.
Because that they have forsaken me, and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians. Ashtoreth.
Or what we call present day Easter, the goddess of the Zidonians. Go ahead.
Chamos, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and hath not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. Howbeit I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life, for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes.
So was Israel successfully split? Yes. So he couldn't depend on these other false gods to put it back together, which is more evidence showing that these additional 3 gods are no gods. Ashtoreth, Shamash, or Milcom. We're breaking them down one by one. Okay? Let's keep going. Let's go to 2 Kings 17. 2 Kings 17. And pick it up at verse 1. Because the nation was split. You had, from that point on, the northern tribe and the southern tribe. Rehoboam ran Judah, and Jeroboam ran the northern tribe of Israel. You just saw where he just gave it to him by the prophet Ahijah, which is really coming by the hand of the Lord. But the northern tribe, what did they do? Let's take a look at this at 2 Kings 17, pick it up at verse 1. When you get there, go ahead and read.
In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years.
Okay, jump to verse 5.
Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land, and went up to Samaria, and besieged it 3 years.
Right.
In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria, and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah, and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
Okay, keep going.
For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God.
Right, because they were in captivity because of their action. There was a consequence for their action. So they were taken into captivity. This is the northern tribe where the majority of them were. Keep going.
Which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods.
They started fearing other gods. Keep going.
And had walked in the statutes of the heathen.
They started walking in the statutes of the what?
Heathen.
The other nations. Keep going.
Whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel.
Kick those people out. Go ahead.
And of the kings of Israel, which they had made.
Right. Keep going. What verse you at?
I'm at the beginning of 9.
Okay. Jump down to verse 10.
And they set them up images and groves in every high hill.
Oh, images and groves. That's greenery. Go ahead.
And under every green tree.
And under what?
Every green tree.
We call those evergreens. They were putting their gifts under the trees. Under every green tree. Go ahead.
And there they burnt incense in all the high places.
Right.
As did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them.
Right.
And wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger.
They were mimicking what other nations were doing. What verse was that? That was
beginning of end of 11.
That was end of 11. Jump down to... No, keep going, keep going.
For they served idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing.
Right.
Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent you by my servants the prophets.
Okay, jump all the way down to verse 23. In other words, he put a record on the table.
That's right.
That you should not do this thing. I've been sending people to you to warn you, And you would not listen. So verse 23.
Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight.
That's the northern tribe out of his sight, or Ephraim out of his sight. Go ahead.
As he had said by all his servants, the prophets.
Right, go ahead.
So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
Unto this very day, those are called the lost tribes of the children of Israel because they want to deal with those green trees and those groves of the paganism.
That's right.
You know what that means? This is before Christ came in the flesh. That this wickedness caused them to miss out on Christ coming in the flesh. Only the southern kingdom of Judah was able to interact and deal with Christ.
That's
The
right.
northern tribe was gone. Message. Go ahead and jump to 1 Kings chapter 12. Because I want to show you how they started off. 1 Kings 12. When they got there was only 3 tribes remaining. Benjamin, Judah, and Levi.
That's right.
You may have found like a sprinkling of 1 or 2 here, but the whole tribe wholesale was gone into captivity hundreds of years before Judah went into captivity. Because the northern tribes were scattered among the Hamites, the southern tribe was among the Gentiles.
That's right.
They went to Babylon, then Medo-Persia, then Cyrus turned around and let them go back and rebuild a temple, and then that's the one that the Lord came to. But the northern tribe had nothing to do with that. He said, go look at Shiloh. It's nothing if y'all keep up what y'all doing. The treacherous sister did not hearken. That means the treacherous sister of Judah, the sister of Israel, did not listen. Not talking just, as far as our sisters. You see what I'm saying? Let me clarify that. All right. 1 Kings chapter 12, picking up at verse 28. Because this is what Jeroboam started doing, because they were supposed to go back to Jerusalem to keep the feast. But he said, I don't want them to go back to Jerusalem because they may turn their hearts back to Rehoboam. So I'm going to start something new. I'm going to start creating my own feast days so that way they stay here. Go ahead and pick up at verse 28.
Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel.
So be careful when someone's telling you that it's too hard for you to do this. It's too hard for you to do that. Can't no one keep the Sabbath? Can't no one keep all them laws? Be careful when someone's in that mindset because they're already out of line with God and they're about to get some company. Go ahead.
Behold thy gods, O Israel.
Behold thy gods. So he done set up some calves, right? Just like they did when they came out the land into the wilderness. Go ahead.
Which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Right.
And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan.
Right. So he's just going to set up some false images. Go ahead.
And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
Right.
And he made an house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people.
So you're going to start making churches and start making up some new priests other than the Levites? Go ahead.
Which were not of the sons of Levi.
Right, go ahead.
And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the eighth month.
Right, so this is another big mistake. He ordained a feast or a feast day in the what?
In the 8th month.
Right.
On the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah, and he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made, and he placed in Bethel the priests of the high places, which he had made.
Right, so he made a feast day in the 8th month. All of our Leviticus 23 holy days of God are in the 1st month to the 7th month. It's showing that this king is operating without wisdom. So this is a standard view of today's Gregorian calendar made by Pope Gregory VIII, where they say January is the 1st month. They're going to do that, next Tuesday, right?
That's right.
And they're going to say that December is the end of your calendar. So a basic construct showing that according to the Bible, the New Year is usually in March, like late March, early April, depending on the new moon, because that is where we get the word month from. So if we just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's an ugly 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. We now have God's calendar.
That's right.
Because if this is the new year, the whole earth responds. Vegetation comes back. animals obey and come out of hibernation.
That's right.
The sun obeys and makes the days longer. The whole creation obeys, but his own creation, Israel. So if this is the new year, then that means that sept still means 7. October, just like octagon, octopus still means what?
8.
8. November, like in Spanish, nueve still means what?
9.
And decade, dodecahedron, decimal is still the what?
10.
10th month. Praise God. So Gentiles, we will let them know, the ones who don't have understanding, because we got some with some understanding.
Amen.
You are going into the 11th month. You have not made your full circle around the year, which means that February, which they say is the shortest month, is really the end of the year.
That's right.
And when they have a day, because they're trying to mess with the calendar and put, leap year days, where they put it? Do they put it in the middle of the calendar, or are they really putting it at the end of the calendar?
Amen.
Praise God for his understanding.
Praise God.
And the feast days are from the 1st to the 7th month. We start over with Passover on the 13th day of the first month that evening, and we end all the way in the 7th month talking about the 8th day, which is after the Feast of Tabernacles. Right. So then when you turn around and make your own feast day, your own holiday, your own celebration, and say that this relates to God, you are out of bounds. Because there are no feast days when the 8th day is complete. The whole mission has been completed.
That's
because
right.
The feast days point to salvation. And if you may in the Father's kingdom on the 8th day, what more is there to celebrate other than just to eat at the table with God and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob?
Amen.
Nothing left to do.
Praise
they
God.
Not operate with understanding. Let's keep this going. Can we go ahead and hit this Mithraism?
Yes, sir.
Because we have to show another one. He's going to read from the Catholic Encyclopedia.
Mithraism, a pagan religion consisting mainly...
what kind of religion?
A pagan religion.
Okay, this is paganism. Go ahead.
Consisting mainly of the cult of the ancient Indo-Iranian sun god Mithra.
This is also a what? This is a cult.
A cult.
Pagan, this is a cult. They say that we're a cult for keeping the holy days that's written in the Bible. Scholastic sources says, no, you are the pagans, and you are the ones in the biggest cult on the earth. Go ahead.
Religion, cult of the ancient Indo-Iranian sun god Mithra.
Right.
It entered Europe from Asia Minor after Alexander's conquest.
So it entered into Europe from the Medo-Persian Empire. Go ahead.
Spread rapidly.
From Alexander's conquest.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Spread rapidly over the whole Roman Empire at the beginning of our era, reached its zenith during the 3rd century, and vanished under the repressive regulations of Theodosius at the end of the 4th century.
Okay, perfect. Keep going. At the end of the what? The 4th century. This is the year 300 to 400. That's considered the 4th century. Go ahead.
Of late, the researchers, it says similar to Christianity, because it is supposed similarity to Christianity.
Oh, so they suppose that this is similar to Christianity.
That's right.
Okay, go ahead, hit from right there. Go ahead.
After the conquest of Babylon, this Persian cult came into contact with Chaldean astrology.
Oh, okay. So this Persian cult come into contact with some Chaldean astrology. Go ahead.
And with the national worship of Marduk.
Of Marduk. That's where the trees come in. Go ahead.
For a time, the two priesthoods of Mithra and Marduk, I think it's going to tell me, coexisted in the capital, and Mithraism borrowed much from this intercourse.
Okay, go ahead, jump to the next page and hit right there. The highlighted portion.
Got it. There are 7 degrees of initiation into the Mithraic. The consecrated.
Right. The consecrated, go ahead.
One became in succession crow.
Right, or the Korax they call them. Go ahead.
Occult, or Crypheus.
Right.
Soldier, Miles. Lion, Leo.
Yep.
Persian,
right.
Perses. Solar messenger,
right.
Heliodromos,
right.
and father, Pater.
So this is the 7 levels of the Mithraic priesthood, and the highest level is called a what? A father. All right, go ahead and jump down right here.
The 25th of December was observed as his birthday. The Natalis Invicti, the rebirth of the winter sun unconquered by the rigors of the season.
So the Roman Empire was celebrating December 25th not because it was the birthday of Christ, because it was the birthday of Mithras.
That's right.
Mithras is the new syncretism between trying to put the God of the Bible, the God of Israel, the King of the Jews, and the other false gods. So far, can we blend these two together? No. Is Mithras a real God?
No.
Thank you. Praise God.
Amen.
So we're seeing where that came from and how it entered into Rome. Now let's go to Luke chapter 4, verse 24. Luke chapter 4 and verse 24. And this is the reason why you may operate in all this knowledge and many people may not receive it. But you stay firm in your understanding and your knowledge, and the Lord's going to keep increasing and giving you even more knowledge and more understanding.
Amen.
Luke 4 and verse 24. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And he said, Verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country.
Nobody's going to be accepted. Doing the will of the Lord, they're not going to be accepted in their hometown. Go ahead.
But I tell you of a truth.
In fact, that's so true that Jesus' first ministry, after he got baptized and when he opened up, as his customers went to the Sabbath day and to read in the synagogue, what happened? The people of the church grabbed him and tried to throw him headlong over a cliff from his first ministry. So he knows what he's talking about, doesn't he? Go ahead.
But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elias, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months,
right,
when great famine was throughout all the land.
Right. In other words, there was a lot of people, there was a lot of widows, there was a lot of death going on because no one would receive the prophecies of Elijah. Go ahead.
But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow.
A city of Zidon. So he was sent to one individual because everyone else wouldn't listen.
That's right.
God is not playing a numbers game. Hit verse 27.
And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Eliaseus,
Elisha,
the prophet, and none of them was cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian.
So there was a whole bunch of lepers in the time of Elisha's prophecy, and was no one clean other than Naaman, a non-Israelite. That's right. Because other people wouldn't listen. There was many lepers, but only one got cleansed. He's putting that on the table. Don't get caught up in the numbers game. Just because a lot of people are doing this other types of worship, that doesn't mean nothing. They trust in the multitude of thy way. We read that in Hosea 10, verse 13.
Amen.
Is that the end of verse 27?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Hit verse 28.
And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, and rose up and thrust him out of the city, and led him unto the brow of the hill whereon their city was built.
So these are our ancestors manhandling Jesus. Go ahead.
That they might cast him down headlong.
This is what our forefathers wanted to do because someone finally put the right word right on the table. Consider that. Let's keep it going. Let's go to Exodus 19. Remember that when we, how can I say, start doubting other nations and people, you have to remember who did it first to Christ. Exodus chapter 19, I want one verse, verse 22. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And let the priests also, which come near to the Lord, sanctify themselves.
Which do what? The people that's operating their priesthood that's coming near to the Lord, they have to do what? They have to sanctify themselves. Go ahead.
Lest the Lord break forth upon them.
That is a polite warning. If you say you coming to do the real work of God, sanctify yourself. Don't be dealing with all this other folly and foolishness. The Lord, unless the Lord does what? Break out upon you. Food for thought. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32. So they have to sanctify themselves. That's not the end of the mission. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 49. When you get there, go ahead and read.
Get thee up into this mountain, Abarim, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho, and behold the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession.
Right. So go see the land. Go ahead.
And die in the mount whither thou goest up.
So, like, how do you obey that commandment? You just go up there, check out the land. Oh, when you get up there, die. And he's saying this to Moses. I can't hold a torch to him. Go ahead.
And he gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor.
Just like I already did to your brother, because Moses was taken up into a mountain, and his son came down wearing all the priestly garments. In other words, just like that. Go ahead.
And was gathered unto his people.
Right.
Because ye transgressed among me, among the children, against me among the children of Israel, at the waters of Meribah Kadesh.
Because he hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. Go ahead.
In the wilderness of Zin, because ye sanctified me not.
Because you sanctified or separated me not. You did not separate me and exalt me. You started exalting yourself instead of just him. Go ahead. That's the reason. That's another example why you cannot co-blend the Lord with other false gods and other paganism. You are sanctifying him. Death is coming. Go ahead.
In the midst of the children of Israel.
Right.
Yet.
That's all I want from that. Thank you. Let's go to Exodus 34. I got to throw this in. Exodus 34. Exodus 34, and pick it up at verse 22. Exodus 34 and 22. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And thou shalt observe the Feast of Weeks.
That's what we do. We observe the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost. Keep going.
Of the first fruits of wheat harvest.
The first fruits of the wheat harvest, and we call that the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Go ahead.
And the Feast of Ingathering at the year's end.
And the Feast of Ingathering at the year's end, we understand that as what? Tabernacles.
Sure.
So these are 3 feasts that we're supposed to go to Jerusalem. We're supposed to keep all these feasts, but these are the ones that require the pilgrimage. Go ahead.
Thrice a year shall all your men children appear before the Lord God, the God of Israel.
Go ahead.
For I will cast out the nations before thee, and enlarge thy borders. Neither shall any man desire thy land, when thou shalt go up to appear before the Lord thy God thrice in the year.
Did you catch that? If you go up to keep the Lord's holy days that he prescribed in Leviticus 23, ain't no one going to even desire your land. You know what that's called? That's called spiritual protection. The angels are camping about them that fear him. So no one's going to touch your stuff while you going to keep the feast days. So if those angels are coming when you keep those feast days, which angels are coming when you keep the other ones? I have an excerpt where we can read the deadliest day of the year is Christmas Day. What angels are coming when you keep these days? Someone just died on my job right before Christmas came. And all they could say was, well, maybe he didn't eat right. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was God. Let's go to Judges chapter 6. Might as well show you the benefit package. You know, what do I get if I serve you? You have protection over your household, but the people that's keeping these other days, they're inviting the things to their front doorstep. They can't even have Amazon come drop off a package without wondering if it's still there, right?
Right. It's true.
But he said, ain't no man going to desire your land when you come to keep these feast days. Judges chapter 6. How am I doing on time? Because I know I'm pushing it.
3:17.
All right. Judges 6. Let's pick it up at verse 1. I'm going to hit 2 spots and we're out. Judges 6 and verse 1, when you get there, go ahead and read.
And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years.
Right, go ahead.
And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel, and because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains, and caves, and strongholds. And so it was, when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites, and the children of the east, even they came up against them.
Right.
And they camped against them, and destroyed the increase of the earth, till thou come into Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass.
Right, they didn't leave anything. In other words, they were tearing up their increase. Jump to verse 10.
And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell.
Right.
But ye have not obeyed my voice.
But that's the reason why you're going through this, because you didn't obey my voice. Go ahead.
And there came an angel of the Lord, and sat under an oak which was in Ophrah, that pertaineth unto Joash the Abiezrite, and his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites.
Right. This is the beautiful thing. The Lord is going to send some deliverance, but there's a special message that comes with it. Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him, and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor.
Keep going.
And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us?
Right. Well, someone didn't go back and read Deuteronomy 28 because you will get the answer.
Right.
So if the Lord's with us, why is all this evil happening to us as a people? Go ahead.
And where be all his miracles which our fathers told us
Where are these
of
miracles
us?
at? Go ahead.
Saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt?
Right.
But now the Lord hath forsaken us, and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. And the Lord looked upon him, and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites.
He didn't get an answer. He just said, just go in your might. In other words, just go. I'm going to give the instruction. Go ahead.
Have not I sent thee?
Have not I sent thee? Go ahead. Keep going.
And he said unto him, O my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel?
Right.
Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house.
Keep going.
And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man.
And you are going to smite the Midianites as what? As one man. Go ahead and jump to verse 25.
And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, Take thy father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that thy father hath, and cut down the grove that is by it. And build an altar unto the Lord thy God upon the top of this rock, in the ordered place, and take the
Actually, I'm sorry. In verse 25, I just want to show down that the Lord commanded him to throw down the altar of who?
Baal.
That thy father hath. In other words, you may have grown up with this. That doesn't mean you have to keep it.
That's right.
Throw down the altar of Baal or the paganism, and cut down the what? That grove. That grove popped up again, like it said in 2 Kings 17. And then I want to jump down to verse 31. Because when they found out who did it, they said, it was Gideon. It was such and such a child. And then his father steps in, who had been a pagan all this time. Now he jumps on the truth bandwagon, right? Pick it up at verse 31.
And Joash said unto all that stood against him.
So he stands up to the rest of them, because even though the Lord didn't speak to his father, it spoke to Gideon. And now, next thing you know, his father stands up and is what? A mighty man of valor. Go ahead.
Will ye plead for Baal? Will ye save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death whilst it is yet morning.
Right.
If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one hath cast down his altar.
And we know that Gideon wasn't killed. So we understand now that Baal is what? No God.
Amen.
Now let's go to Jeremiah 10. I've been waiting all this time
all this day
to get y'all to Jeremiah chapter 10. I don't want to make it too predictable. Now let's take you to Jeremiah chapter 10. And when you get there, pick it up at verse 1.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Right.
Thus saith the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord. But we understand that rock is Christ. Christ is speaking to you. Go ahead.
Learn not the way of the heathen.
Don't learn the way of the other nations. Go ahead. This is talking religious worship. Go ahead.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
Don't be confounded by the what's called the winter solstice, December 21st, when you have the shortest amount of daylight. Don't be confounded by that. Go ahead.
For the heathen are dismayed at them.
Well, they're going to be dismayed at them, but go ahead.
For the customs of the people are vain.
The customs of those people is vanity, is for nothing. Go ahead.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
They have to go get some wood to set up this image. Go ahead.
They deck it with silver and with gold. gold.
They are going to deck it with silver and with gold. Go ahead.
They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not.
They're going to fasten it with nails and hammers. In other words, they're going to make sure it stands up still. Go ahead.
They are upright as the palm tree.
They're going to be upright by the time they're done with it, like a palm tree. Go ahead.
But speak not.
But they don't speak. In other words, there's no breath in them. Go ahead.
They must needs be borne.
They have to be carried. That's why they're going to be on top of vehicles all through the month of December. Go ahead.
Because they cannot go.
Because they don't have the ability to go themselves. Go ahead.
Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil.
Right.
Neither also is it in them to do good.
Right.
For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Lord,
right.
Thou art great, and thy name is great in might.
There's nothing like him. Jump to verse 8.
But they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities.
The stock is a doctrine of vanities. Go ahead.
Silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz. The work of the workman, and of the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning men.
Right. This is all their work. Go ahead and hit verse 15.
They are vanity and the work of errors.
Right.
In the time of their visitation, they shall perish.
In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. And let's close it out at John 15. Let's close it out at John 15. I cut quite a few scriptures out.
Cut the corners.
But the sun's still up. But YouTube has some constraints. John 15, verse 21. When you get there, go ahead and read.
But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake,
right?
Because they know
people are getting persecuted for being obedient. Go ahead.
Because they know not him that sent me.
They don't know God. They don't know the Father. Go ahead.
If I had not come and spoken unto them,
right.
They had not had sin.
They had no sin. But see, this is the thing. When you're operating in ignorance, that's one thing. That's what the sacrifice is for. But the one that will sin presumptuously, they're the ones that are in trouble. Because a simple question they should even ask themselves, if they say that they started keeping dates and times and years from the day of Christ's birth, then how come we don't have a new year on December 25th? Why are we waiting until January 1st?
Amen.
If that's when we started keeping time. Why is there a difference? What's this gap for? Unless that January stood for the Roman god Janus. Here's the reason why they used to call it in Latin Januarius. Keep going.
But now they have no cloak for their sin.
But now that the truth has been on the table and you have heard the words of God, there is what? No cloak for your sin. I thank you for your time.
Amen.